do it, but every country has a form of a dietary law because there has to be law and order. There has to be. It's a variation. It's a altered one, like we just read in First Maccabees, strange laws, but it's a law nonetheless. It's still going to be there. All right, let's get into the ceremonial. Give me the definition. Ceremonial laws written in America. Give me the etymology of holiday. Let's look at it. I hope y'all understand. I hope y'all getting something out of this because I want this class to be easy to digest and so that you're never fooled by the BS. Read that. So your grandmama, baby, we can eat anything we want, right? Because 1 Timothy, grandmama, no, we can't. Because there's laws here that prevent you from doing such things. Right. Etymology of holiday, read that.
Etymology of holiday. 1500s earlier holiday. From Old English holiday. Holy day.
What?
Holy day.
What is it?
Holy day.
So, remember we're talking about ceremonial laws. America has ceremonial laws. When we say, hey, today's the Sabbath, brother, don't break this. You believe in God, right? Yeah. Today's the Sabbath. Don't break the Sabbath. Oh, you're pushing legalism. This legalism. America has holy days that they separate. Right. Read on.
Consecrated day.
Consecrated day.
Religious anniversary.
Now remember, Antiochus was pushing his religion. So you could call it Christian all you want. If it's not following the customs or a consecrated day in the scripture, it's a different God. Period. Go ahead.
Religious anniversary. Sabbath.
What?
Sabbath.
What?
Sabbath.
Okay. Your holidays you keep as Sabbaths. That's why Christmas, is anything open on Christmas really? No. They shut shop down like Nehemiah 10:31. Is anybody really working? You may have some people working, but for the most part, ain't nobody working on that day. And they all come together in a convocation, a large formal gathering. Sounds like a Sabbath to me. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
From Holly, see holy,
from
day. In 14C, meaning both religious festival and day of exemption.
Day of exemption from
labor and recreation.
Oh, don't they do that on the other days too? On their holidays? Sunday? What? Don't they do that? Which God is it though? That's what I'm curious. All right, give me the article. Federal holidays. Is it written in law, y'all? Is there a law about these holy American holy days? Is it written in law? Yes, because every place has law and order. And their law and order is based around the God that they serve. Notice they keep none of the rights that's in the Bible. Right. Let's get that.
Holidays.
This is from what?
Legal Information Institute.
Now this is the code, 5 U.S. Code 6103, holidays. This is written in law. Let's see what they are.
A. The following are legal public holidays. New Year's Day, January 1st.
New Year's Day. Most people had today. Did you work today, brother?
Nah.
What you had today, what?
I had it off.
And they kept you kept it as a Sabbath, brother? I'm just playing. You was doing the work. I know you was out there. We was doing the work, right? We take advantage of it, right? Yeah. We can't go in if they're not open. We can't go in, right? But we keep our Sabbath holy.
They'd be looking at me crazy if I try going into work and tell me they can't judge me.
Right. You can't judge me, brother. You can't judge me. I don't keep it. Go ahead.
Birthday of Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, birthday of Martin Luther King is written in law. What is it?
The third Monday in January.
They even have it, they have a time. Remember, in the Bible it said what? The first month on the 14th day at even, you keep Passover. It's dated and timed on the month and what day we're going to do it. What did this say? It's dated and timed. The birthday of Martin Luther King, the third Monday in January. Every third Monday. That's what it's going to be. Go ahead.
Washington's birthday. The third Monday in February.
That's dated in time. Go ahead.
Memorial Day. The last Monday in May.
We have a Memorial Day. It's called Passover. The Lord said keep this as a memorial.
Juneteenth, National Independence Day.
They just did that for black people to shut them up.
June 19th. Independence Day.
Independence Day.
July 4th. Labor Day, the first Monday in September.
Read.
Columbus Day.
Scroll down, y'all.
The second Monday in October. Veterans Day, November 11th. Thanksgiving Day, the 14th Thursday in November.
Read.
Christmas Day, December 25th.
Wait a minute. Now a Christian may say, but we're not pushing on people. You don't have to do it. Listen, y'all. From the time Halloween is over, when you walk in the store, what do you hear? Jingle bell. God dang it. And it be in your head, you be driving like, I'm drink. What the hell? What the hell? Why is that in my head? No, please stop. No. They're pushing legalism because their holidays are written in law and they push it on everybody. They push it. You got Arabs in the Arab countries doing it now. They're doing what? Pushing it on everybody. Is that written in here? No. It's another God. Hey, give me the pictures of their gods real quick. I'm going to show you their God. I'm going to show you what their gods look like, made in their image. I was going to pull it earlier. You got it? I'm going to get the pictures of their gods real quick. Made in their image. It's not the God of the Bible. It's a different God that looks like them. And they got dumb blacks and Hispanics to follow. Got it? Pull it up. And Native Americans. Sheesh. There he goes. Look at that guy. The prisoner came out of his cell. Came to show him off. Look, I was driving. I was in Arizona, and I seen that on somebody's truck. They think Jesus voted Republican. They think that Jesus is an American citizen. That's this nation's God in their image, y'all. That's not the God of the Bible. Go ahead. Give me the next one. That's nasty. He's cursed. Hey, Bishop first said, look, he's cursed. I was dying laughing. Go ahead. Give me the next one. Look, y'all remember when Trump got shot in his ear? I saw that. I said, they got a picture of Jesus with a bullet wound on his ear, making it seem as though, well, actually showing you who their God is. It's the white man. That's their Lord and Savior. Donald J. Trump, or whoever steps in that office. America. Jesus, it did not put a vote in the ballot, y'all. I'm sorry. He didn't do it. They say, God bless America. How? Yeah, I'm going to get on a tangent. Okay, take that down. All right. So now give me the book, History of Jewish Nation. History of a Jewish Nation.
History of the Jewish Nation after the destruction of Jerusalem under Titus by Alfred Eisenheim.
Read. Yeah, read. Oh, no. That's good. By who?
Alfred Edersheim.
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 Okay, let's get the next one. Read the highlighted part. This is what page? Scroll up so people can see it. Because I don't want the apologists to be like, we didn't see it. It's 299.
This is page 299.
All right. Let's see if they call this pseudo. Go ahead.
Under the rule of the Herodians, theaters and amphitheaters were indeed reared in various cities of Palestine, in imitation and in honor of the Romans.
Read.
But as the games there celebrated were essentially foreign, they were discountenanced and even interdicted,
which means hated.
Interdicted, thank you, by the rabbins. With equal zeal did the rabbins warn against all contamination with idolatry.
So they warned against all contamination against idolatry. Let's see what they warned about. Read.
Anything that could directly or indirectly be connected with idolatry.
Even if it's directly or indirectly connected with idolatry. Go ahead.
Such as heathen ornaments.
Heathen ornaments, whatever they hanging around their house. We're not putting no goddamn reefs up in here.
Etc.
Etc. Go ahead.
Might not be lawfully used by a Hebrew. Who was in no way.
They were doing what? Avoiding the appearance of evil. Go ahead.
Who was in no way to compromise himself with countenancing anti-Jewish practices.
You're not supposed to be doing anti-laws. That's what it means by Jewish practices. I hate that. But go ahead, read.
To throw down a stone in honor of Mercury.
That's one of the customs or the rites they would do, was to throw down a stone in honor of Mercury. They didn't do it. Go ahead.
Or to touch those which had so been thrown down. To enter into business relations with heathens 3 days before or after their feasts. To make purchases in shops decorated with garlands in honor of idols.
So they didn't even walk in the shops. Oh man, look, this. Remember, you remember in Acts 10 when he was like, look, if you're going through the market, whatever sold, look, yo, that doesn't matter. Those gods don't mean nothing. So they were strict, like, no, we're not even walking in this joint. Hey, we would be screwed today because we couldn't walk in no store. Every store got Christmas lights and presents and right. But they wasn't doing none of that. Just showing you their history. They didn't deal with none of that because they knew the God that they worship. They knew that following those rites and customs meant that it was associated with idolatry. They knew that. Go ahead, bring it back.
To make purchases in shops decorated with garlands in honor of idols. Even to celebrate the 1st of January.
Even to what?
To celebrate the 1st of January.
What's today? The 1st of January. They knew, no. We don't celebrate no 1st of January. What's wrong with you? We don't do that. As what?
The new year. Or any other calendar.
Any other calendar dates, right?
1st of the month.
1st of the month.
The Saturnalia.
The what?
The Saturnalia.
So at that time, Saturnalia was going around. Was Paul and them, did they stop keeping tabernacles and everything and start celebrating Saturnalia? No. Because they knew that's an association with another God. That's a celebration. Go ahead.
The birth.
The what?
The birth.
The what?
The birth.
The birth?
Or the coronation day of the heathen emperor.
So how Antiochus in 2 Maccabees 6 made us keep the day of his birth every month on the same day, that was celebrating his birthday. And guess what? We were not to do that. They didn't do that. What do they do today? Everybody celebrate their birthday today? Yes, of course. But understanding that only at that time, only the kings celebrated their birthday because it was associated with them becoming a god. So today, when you celebrate your birthday, you are making yourself your own god. That is idolatry, because that's not one of the customs or the rites of the God of the Bible. Finish that out.
The Saturnalia, the birth or the coronation day of a heathen emperor,
was what?
Was strictly interdicted.
Was strictly hated, despised. They were strict about that. They didn't play around. Okay, go ahead.
Sometimes these views took the direction of intolerance and persecution.
Oh, today when we go and we tell people that, they say, you're not tolerant. You're judging me. You're judging me. It's intolerance and persecution. And like, yo, no, you said you believe in this, though. Wait a minute, lady. You said you believe in this. Go ahead.
Thus it was not lawful to assist at the birth of or to suckle a heathen infant.
Nah, we ain't even help you have your baby or feed it. But what did they make us do in slavery? They made us feed it and to take care of their baby. Anyway, drop that. All right, so we read that, right? All right, so Christians will celebrate American holy days and religious Sabbaths of America to a false image, to a false God. We know the image of that God. It is in the image of like we read in Deuteronomy 4, in the likeness of a man or in the likeness of a woman. That's in the likeness of Caesar Borgia. And there's rights and traditions and customs under that. There's law and order under that. But God gave his law and his order. So let's read, my man, let's read one of those. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 7. Go ahead.
1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 7.
Go ahead.
Neither be ye idolaters, as were some of them, as it is written.
So Paul is telling you, don't be idolaters. In order to not be an idolater, you have to know the customs and the rights of the God you're supposed to be serving. You can't say, now they're absolutely done away with. How is that possible? How do you worship and serve that God then if the rights and the customs of it are gone? Because every society is governed by the God that they worship. The laws and the order is centered around the God that they worship. So, read it again.
Neither be ye idolaters.
Don't be idolaters. Don't follow after the customs and the rights of the other people. Read.
As were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Neither let us commit fornication, as some of them.
So when the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play, that's talking about when they were doing what? When they built the calf. And they were in what? Idolatry. Right. Don't do that. If somebody today would say, oh, well, we have this calf represents Jesus. And we just because you say it represents Jesus doesn't mean it is. Don't do that, stupid. Go ahead.
Neither let us commit fornication.
Now, hold that. Drop down to verse 14.
Verse 14. Wherefore, my dearly beloved, flee from idolatry.
Flee from idolatry. Read on. Jump down to verse 18.
Verse 18. Behold Israel.
Behold who?
Behold Israel.
Who's he talking to? Israel. Why? Because the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is our God. So to follow any other nation would be idolatry. So he's saying, behold Israel. Read.
After the flesh.
After what?
After the flesh.
No, the spirit, brother.
The flesh.
Behold Israel after the flesh. Read.
Are not they which eat of the sacrifices partakers of the altar?
The ones who eat of the sacrifices, if you're partaking of the rites and the customs, then you're partakers of the altar, of that God. Go ahead.
What say I then? That the idol is anything.
Is that idol anything though? Is that God an actual thing? Read.
Or that which is offered in sacrifice to idols anything?
Is it anything? Is turkey now defiled because they cooked it on Thanksgiving Day? No. But read.
But I say
that
the things which the Gentiles sacrifice. They sacrifice.
The things that what?
They sacrifice.
Wait, the things that what?
The things which the Gentiles sacrifice.
So he's not including Gentiles in stopping idolatry. He's talking to Israelites. The things that the Gentiles sacrifice, read.
They sacrifice to devils.
To devils. If you're doing Christmas, Thanksgiving has a ritual, just like how Passover has a ritual of lamb, bitter herbs, unleavened bread. Thanksgiving, what's the ritual? Turkey, cranberry sauce, stuffing, Holy crap. That's a sacrifice to devils. Read on.
They sacrifice to devils and not to God.
And not to God. Read.
And I would not that you should have fellowship with devils.
Don't associate yourself with the rites and the customs of the Gentiles. I mean, what? It's right there. It's in the New Testament, Christians. Read on.
Verse 21. You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of devils.
What cup? What do you bring the cups to? The ceremonies. Read.
Ye cannot be partakers of the Lord's table.
The Lord's table is what? Passover and the other feast days. Go ahead.
And of the table of devils.
You cannot participate on Passover and keep Christmas, Negro. You cannot do both. You got to choose one or the other. Choose you this day. Who you going to serve? The Lord, God of heaven and earth, or the white man? Or your wife? Or your kids? Go ahead.
Do we provoke the Lord to jealousy? Are we?
But how are you provoking the Lord to jealousy? Because it's not him you're worshiping. We do it for Jesus. Listen, if you get a pentagram and have a seance and say we're doing it for Jesus, you are the devil. It doesn't matter what you try to put it as, or the title you want to give it, or you say, well, Christians do that. I am a Christian, and it's in Jesus' name. There's nothing wrong with it, and God didn't say we. You're the devil that the Bible speaks of. And there's black devils, too. You black Negroes are the devil when you make excuses like that. You're the devil that the Bible speaks of. You're a deceiver. That's what a devil means. Deceiver. Satan. You know.
Are we stronger than he?
You stronger than God? No, you can't box with God. You're going to lose. You're going to lose. Give me that in 2 Corinthians 6, verse 14.
This is the book of 2 Corinthians, chapter 6 and verse 14.
Yep.
Be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers.
Don't be unequally yoked with unbelievers. How are Christians and pagans celebrating the same holiday? How do people with pentagram sweaters on? There's a picture of a couple in a pentagram sweater with their daughter with Christmas trees and lights behind them. How are y'all both celebrating the same day? How? It don't make sense. Go ahead.
Be ye not unequally yoked together.
Because the celebrations and the rites that are supposed to do what? Like the Bible said, separate you. They're supposed to separate you. How are y'all all doing the same thing? They're supposed to separate you. Go ahead.
Unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness?
Read.
And what communion hath light with darkness? And what concord hath Christ with Belial?
With who?
With Belial.
But that's another god. How can they be together? Christ did what? Did Christ keep Saturnalia? He was alive during the Roman Empire. Was Christ keeping Saturnalia, saying, I'm doing it for me? I'm doing it for my Father? No. He was keeping the customs and the rites to show he worshiped God. What did he tell Satan? Worship God. How did he do that? He kept the rites and the customs. That's what we understand what worship is. That only makes sense, y'all. It only makes sense. Let's go into, no, I don't want that yet. Isaiah 29, verse 13.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 29 and verse 13.
Read.
Wherefore the Lord said, for as much as his people draw near me.
Y'all Christians, y'all draw near to God. Not just y'all. I'm not just talking about any Christians. I'm talking about our brothers and sisters that are lost in Christianity. I'm talking about our brothers and sisters that want to fight us all the time, that want to put lies out about us all the time. That's what I'm talking about, y'all. Okay? Y'all got to understand, we are not your enemy. Am I therefore become your enemy because I tell you the truth? We are not your enemy. There's no need to lie on us. There's no need to put out propaganda about us. There's no need to go and say we're violent, we attack people, we do this. There's no need to do that. No need at all, okay? This is for you. You talk to God out loud. Read it again from the top.
Wherefore saith the Lord, for as much as his people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me.
You honor God with your mouth, and it sounds good. Yo, I used to believe it. I used to think I was honoring God with my mouth. Go ahead.
But I removed their heart far from me.
Your mind is far from God, because according to 1 Kings 8:61 and a bunch of other scriptures, Psalms 19:7, the law is supposed to be in your mind. Like, what do Christians say? The law is in my heart. No, it's not, because you removed your heart far from God. If you would be keeping the law then, if it was in your heart. You'd be keeping the law if you really honored God, but you don't. Go ahead.
And their fear toward me.
Your fear towards God, how you worship him was what?
Is taught by the precept of men.
Taught by the law or the order of men, not of God. That's not the law and order of God. That's the law and order of men. And which man did that? Which men did we read earlier in Psalms 50 that was going to have our records to deceive us? Which man earlier did we read about that was going to speak great words against the Most High and change times and laws? Who was going to do that? That was going to be the man that you put up as your great teachers, that you'll sit next to and say, these are great teachers right here. Those men. Esau, the white man. They did that. There's no lie about it, that they took this Bible and they were using it to their benefit, that they were lying. That's not a lie. Am I saying all of them were slaves? Obey your masters. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying all of them were doing that. But we know who took the record. These ain't their records. That's for sure. We know that. So let's not play the game. Let's not play around. All right. Give me that in, drop there. Give me that in Titus 2, verse 11. Titus 2, verse 11. Give me that.
This is the book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 11.
Watch this, watch this, watch this.
For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men.
See, Christians be like, see, appeared to all men. It's everybody. No, because they have their own God. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Teaching us that, denying ungodliness
and
worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously.
So you should deny ungodliness and worldly lust and live soberly and righteously. How? When?
And godly.
And God. What determines that? What determines that? There must be rites, practices, rituals, commands, laws, ordinances to guide how to do that. There has to be. Otherwise, you're just flailing in the wind, making stuff up, getting tossed to and fro, making up your own wind of doctrine. Say, well, I do it for Jesus. What? You do what for Jesus? That doesn't even make any sense. Go ahead.
In this present world.
In what?
In this present world.
You have to keep all those commands and orders that's going to guide you and keep you in order in this present world. You have to do it in this present world. Go ahead.
Looking for that blessed hope.
So while you're doing this, you have faith for the blessed hope. Go ahead.
And the glorious appearing of the great God and our Savior, Jesus Christ.
You're hoping for the appearing of our God, Jesus Christ. That's what you're hoping and waiting for. Go ahead.
Who gave himself for us, that he might redeem us from all iniquity.
That he might redeem us from all iniquity. Go ahead.
And purify unto himself.
And purify to, what's good? Deliver us from iniquity is sin. Sin is the transgression of the law. Delivers from iniquity and purify, read.
Unto himself a peculiar
a what?
A peculiar
A
people.
peculiar
people.
A peculiar people. Different from everybody. Not doing the same things as everybody else. Eating the same things as everybody else. Dressing the same way as everybody else. Thinking the same way as everybody else. That's not peculiar. You're just like them. What separates you? So he's going to purify to himself a peculiar people. Go ahead.
Zealous of good works.
Wait a minute. What good works are they zealous of? Hold that. Acts chapter 21, verse 20. What good works are the people going to be zealous of? Let's find out.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 21 and verse 20.
Read.
And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews.
How many thousands of Jews, read.
There are which believe.
They believe. They got faith in Christ. And what?
And they are all zealous.
They are all zealous. What did Acts say? Acts said zealous of good works. These men are zealous of
the law.
They're zealous of the law. That's the good works you must be zealous of while having faith in Christ. Read that again.
And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe.
They believe.
And they are all zealous of the law.
They are all zealous of the law. Now, Titus also said peculiar, purify a peculiar people. What makes us peculiar? Is it all nations he's going to make peculiar? That wouldn't make any sense because then they would all be the same. Give me Deuteronomy 14 and verse 2.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14 and verse 2.
Read.
For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God.
You're a holy people unto the Lord.
Thy God. And the Lord hath chosen thee.
That's the people. Israel, you're the people he chose to be a peculiar people. Read.
Hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people.
That's the people. Read.
Unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth.
So you can't be peculiar and be like all the nations. God's not getting all the nations and making them peculiar. It's only one nation of people that he's doing that with. Go ahead.
Verse 3. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
How are you going to be peculiar, Christians? How is Christ setting and purifying a peculiar people if y'all eating the same as everybody else? Does that make any sense, officer?
No.
That makes no sense, does it?
Hell no.
You can't get around this. All right, let's drop that. All right. I'm going to show, let's get this Constantine thing going because, whoo. You know what, can I just go in? Can I just go in right now? Yes, is that good? Can I do it?
Yes, sir.
All right, we about to go in. I wasn't going to read all of these, but I'm going to go in. This is some of the things, and listen, I want y'all to pay attention to the questions I'm asking ChatGPT. Now, I want y'all to know this. Take that off real quick. Is it on? It's not on. Okay. So listen. I'm going and looking at ChatGPT, right? But I have sources. But a lot of times ChatGPT can consolidate these sources, and I can ask it, hey, give me the sources on these subjects. So Christians can't be like, oh, that's pseudo. If ChatGPT is saying the same thing we've been saying for years, don't give me no Alexander Hislop is pseudo. 2 Babylons. Ho, 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 ho. That's pseudo. Jeremiah 10, they're carving into wood. Oh, oh, oh. That's not a tree. Oh, don't do it. Don't do it because we're going to eat you alive. Just let ChatGPT will be behind because we're going to get the resource. There's going to be resources on here too. Go ahead and pull it up. Watch what I asked ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, did Constantine incorporate pagan customs with Judaism?
That's what I asked it.
If so, Which customs did he incorporate, and which biblical customs were banned or changed? Answer.
Now watch what I'm telling it to do.
Answer as detailed as possible.
With what?
With historical accuracy.
That's what I'm giving ChatGPT instructions, because if you don't, it'll just give you like 2 or 3 paragraphs, and it like may pull from anywhere. I'm telling it, answer with historical accuracy and what?
And include the historians and their sources.
Please, ChatGPT, because I ain't gonna be. This ain't Wikipedia. Let's go.
Chatbot. Constant the Great.
Yeah, it says Constant. It's supposed to be Constantine. I misspelled it. Go ahead.
Ruled 306 to 337 AD. Played a pivotal role in the transformation of the Roman Empire
into what?
Into a Christian state.
Into a Christian state. Modern day Christianity. Go ahead.
And his reign is often associated with significant shifts in religious practices.
Oh, his reign is related with the shifts of religious practices. Go ahead. A different God meaning. Go ahead.
And cultural integration.
Cultural integration. Read.
However, the specifics of how pagan customs were incorporated with Judaism or vice versa during his reign require nuanced understanding.
It requires nuanced understanding, meaning, it's a lot of detailed stuff you got to go through. So let's read.
Pagan customs and Christianity.
Read.
Number 1, integration of pagan practices. Constantine sought to unify the empire under Christianity, but did not.
Next one.
But did not completely eradicate paganism initially.
He didn't completely eradicate paganism. Go ahead.
Some customs persisted, and there was a degree of syncretism.
Syncretism, yep.
Where pagan and Christian practices intertwined.
They intertwined. Pagan customs and Christian practices came together. That's what they did. This is facts. This happened. These are facts.
We read that in Daniel too.
Yes. That they would think to change times and laws.
Right.
Go ahead.
For example, certain pagan festivals were Christianized.
Oh, it's a Christian custom. Yes, Christian is called a Christian custom because it's a pagan custom that was Christianized. Go ahead.
The festival of the sun.
Oh.
Sol Invictus.
Sol Invictus. That was a good try, brother. Issachar. Go ahead.
On December 25th. Was absorbed into the celebration of the birth of Jesus, Christmas.
Bro, they would sit there and be like, it's not Sol Invictus. The records of, and I got books on it. I have books on it. The reason why I go to ChatGPT is because it'll consolidate a lot of the books that I have. I don't have to bring out this source and then that source and then this source. It'll consolidate it. I may bring it out one day. I have brought it out a couple different times. Yeah. But go ahead. That's Christmas. Y'all just celebrated that. And y'all had a big uproar. Now these Christians now are fighting to keep Christmas, fighting to worship another God. That's up to you. But it has nothing to do with the God of the Bible. It's not the rights, the customs, or the actions of the God of the Bible. You don't get to just be self-willed and do what you want to do. Right. Go ahead.
Number 2, Edict of Milan, 313 A.D. This edict, which Constantine issued alongside Licinius, granted religious tolerance throughout the empire.
So religious tolerance, meaning they would allow pagans to do their thing and the Jews at the time to do their thing. Go ahead.
It allowed Christians to practice their faith openly and set the stage for the gradual decline of pagan state influence.
Of pagan state influence, meaning solely pagan state influence. It was going to start intertwining. Jump down. Go ahead. Council of Nicaea. Number 2.
Number 2, Council of Nicaea, 325 AD. One of the major...
Well, you know what? Read Judaic influence. I want to read despite the initial tolerance. Despite the initial tolerance.
Yes, sir. Relationship with Judaism. Number 1, Judaic influence. Despite the initial tolerance, Constantine implemented laws that were restrictive.
That were what?
Restrictive towards the Jewish population.
Now, we read that in First Maccabees. We read that in First Maccabees. No, we're going to not allow you to do that, not allow you to worship your God. You're going to do it the way we want you to do it, which is now another God. That's called what? Adding and taking away. Like we read in Deuteronomy chapter 4. Go ahead.
Including bans on certain practices and privileges that had been customary in the Roman Empire.
They were customary because why? The Israelites were still keeping the law. Nobody was walking around at that time like a modern Christian, like, you don't got to do that. That's legalism. No, they weren't doing that, bro. They were still keeping the laws. All right? Let's get the next, now, Council of Nicaea.
Number 2, Council of Nicaea, 325 AD. One of the major outcomes of this council was the establishment of the day of Easter, which diverged from the Jewish calendar's Passover observance.
So it's diverged from there, meaning what? They replaced it around the same time and season. They replaced it. Just like they replaced the Feast of Dedication with what? Christmas. There's a lot of them that they replaced. They replaced the seventh-day Sabbath with Sunday Sabbath. Feast of Ingathering, where they replaced that with Thanksgiving. They replaced it. Go ahead.
The Jewish calendar's Passover observance. This was a clear move.
This was a clear move to do what?
To distinguish Christian rights.
Christian rights, pagan customs under a pagan God titled Christian nominally from what?
From Jewish.
Next page.
From Jewish tradition.
From Jewish tradition. Meaning what? They were still keeping the traditions. And that's going to be the last verse we get. Read on.
Historian of Eusebius.
Historian Eusebius.
Eusebius.
Of where?
Of Caesarea. A significant source of this period.
Now, for all you apologists, he's a significant source for this time period. What did he say?
Noted that the church intended to separate itself from Jewish customs to assert its independence and integrity.
It separated itself from the customs of the actual Bible because it wanted to be separate from them. It wanted to be independent of them. Worshiping a different God. Now, we're supposed to be separate and independent of everybody else's gods and customs. But no, now we gravitate to it. Now we just like them. Go ahead.
Changes and bans. Banning of certain practices. Some scholars argue that there were restrictions on Jewish practices during Constantine's reign, primarily aimed at reducing the prominence of Judaism. For instance.
So what do they call us when we're outside? You guys are Judaizers. You're Judaizers. They're out Judaizing. It's the same BS that the pagans were saying about them at this time. You're no better than them. Go ahead.
For instance, certain public rituals and observance of Jewish holy days faced increasing scrutiny.
Right. When we keep it, what do we face? Scrutiny. Increasing scrutiny. People get on our pages, talk crap, they leave messages. We keeping a high holy day, they talking crap. We reading out of the Bible. What do? They get on there, they talk crap. There was a video on our page Hey, subscribe, by the way. There was a video on our page, a shameless plug, where Officer Ophir is teaching this brother, and he's like, hey, man, so, the church never taught you this, never taught you that? He's like, nah. And he's like, okay, let me show you about the Sabbath, blah, 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 blah. Let me teach you about the Sabbath. You got to keep it holy and so on and so forth. And then that's all the little short, because it's like a minute short, right, on YouTube. In the comment, the dude said, racist heretics. Sir, what was racist and heretical in that? There's nothing, they just spouting off stuff. So we see constant scrutiny. We're faced with it's increasing. The scrutiny is increasing. We got a guy now saying, send me where all the locations are at so I can know where they're at. Listen, I don't know what you're intending to do, but number one, we don't hide. We're not hiding. We're out in public. You can see where we're at. Our videos are up. Okay? You can see where we're at. But the pressure is starting to come. They want to scrutinize us. They want to inflict something upon us, even go as far as lying on us. They're violent. They're this. They're that. Put them on the SPLC list. They're a cult, which I can't wait to do that class about cult. They're a cult. Increasing scrutiny. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Historian Jeremy Cohen.
I don't want to hear about him. Let's get the next one. That guy's a weirdo.
Changes and bans.
No, let's get the next one. So these are the sources. Go back. I'm sorry. So summary of key historians and sources. Let's just read some of these sources because they're going to be like, so Eusebius of Caesarea, they'd be like, he's a such and such. Henry Chadwick, Peter Brown. All right, these are some of the sources that I got it from. There's more, but I don't want to get into it. Let me get the next one, Constantine 2. All right, this is what I asked it.
ChatGPT. List all the pagan customs that were integrated from the time of Constantine and up in great detail from accurate sources. Also, list all of the things we call those pagan customs today in great detail from accurate sources.
So all the things that we call pagan customs today, list those. I want to see what they are.
Chatbot.
Let's just go down where it says pagan customs integrated into Christianity.
Sir. Number 1, solstice celebrations. Pagan custom. Many pagan cultures celebrated the winter solstice as a time of rebirth of the sun.
For the what?
The rebirth of the sun.
So it's still called the rebirth of the sun, winter solstice. Let's get the next one. Often with
widely believed to have been established to coincide with these pagan celebrations.
Let's get what's number 2? What does number 2 say? I'm sorry, it must be tripping. What does it say?
Number 2. Tree worship.
Wait, they say we don't worship the tree. What's it called? What does it say?
Tree worship.
Tree worship. Lying bastards. Go ahead.
Pagan custom. Evergreen trees were...
So in the pagan custom, what was it?
Evergreen trees.
No, they were carving faces into it, like little smiley faces. Wee, yippee.
Evergreen trees.
The evergreen tree. Jeremiah 10 is talking about you taking a damn tree and dragging it into your house, nailing it down, putting ornaments on it. There is archaeological evidence of people doing that, not carving smiley faces into them. Y'all are some desperately wicked people. Read that again, please.
Tree worship, pagan custom. Evergreen trees were often used by pagans to symbolize eternal life. And were decorated during
when?
Winter festival.
Holy crap. Yo, it's pitiful, man. It's pitiful. It's like this year, I've literally seen a whole bunch of Christians really be like, Christmas is not Jeremiah 10. Ha, ha, ha. That's not what it means. They're trying so hard. You're pagan. There's nothing in the Bible that says to do what you're doing. You're pagan. You follow the rites of another God. R-I-T-E-S. Go ahead.
Christian equivalent.
What's the Christian equivalent? Yeah, go ahead.
The Christmas tree.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The Christmas tree.
Tradition.
The Christmas tree tradition is thought to stem from this custom, where trees are adorned,
decorated,
and brought into homes,
like the Bible says don't do,
homes during the Christmas season.
During the same season, the same time. It's still kept in its season. Let's go.
Number 3, Easter and spring festivals. Pagan custom. Spring festivals celebrating fertility and rebirth, often involving symbols like eggs and hares.
That was a pagan custom. All y'all churches that got bunnies and eggs around there, y'all are some evil bastards. Yeah, that's what a hare is. A hare is a rabbit. Hit the ball. All right, go ahead.
Christian equivalent. The Easter celebration incorporates symbols such as the egg representing new life, and the Easter.
So the Christian equivalent, the Easter celebration incorporates symbols such as the egg, just like the pagan custom, and representing new life, and what?
And the Easter bunny.
And the Easter bunny,
which are linked to various pagan springtime festivals.
What time festivals?
Springtime festivals.
They're changing times and laws. Yo, that's what they're doing. It's a different God. We're seeing you do it. We're living it. You guys are evil as hell, and you are fighting to do the opposite of what God said. That's the crazy part. Let's get the next one. Are we done with that?
We're seeing prophecy being unfolded right in front of us.
Yeah, yeah. Our people are fighting. Oh, yeah. Let's read these. Modern. Remember, I asked it for what are the modern terms that we call these pagan days today? Go ahead.
Modern terminology of these customs. Yule refers to the winter solstice celebrations that have influenced.
Winter solstice, which is the celebration of the birth of the sun, Sol Invictus. Go ahead.
That have influenced Christmas traditions.
They did what?
That has influenced Christmas traditions.
If it influenced it, then what is it based off of? Evil. You can't. What does righteousness have to do with evil? You can't have both. Go ahead.
Such as feasting and gift giving.
Gift giving, feasting, and gift giving was tied with Yule. That's where you guys get it from with the Christmas tradition. Now, it's gathered from many different places. It's not just only Jeremiah 10, but y'all got it from Mithras. Y'all got it from other different pagan customs and brought it here. It was illegal in the United States, or I forgot where it was, Massachusetts. It was illegal in Massachusetts in the early 1600s, like in 1651, I believe. Then they overruled that in 1659. But people were still like not trying to do it because they knew it was ties with paganism. They knew that even then. But y'all like to hell with that. We want to do it. Y'all want to be evil as hell? Go ahead. Go ahead.
Number 2, pagan Christmas traditions. Terms like Yuletide reflect older pagan customs merged with Christian.
Merged with what?
Merged with Christian practices.
What the hell? This information is out there. Even if it was sketchy, right? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Even if I was like, I don't know. Might be wrong. Right. All this stuff on the internet, you know what? All this information sounds good. Might be wrong. I still wouldn't do it, though, because there's a chance I'm effing up royally. And I not only am I teaching myself to do that and people around me, but I'm teaching that to my kids. Right. What's really the harm in keeping Passover, though? Tell me what's wrong with that. Like, what's the fight for? What is the fight actually for? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Merged with Christian practices, including the Christmas tree.
Including the what?
the Christmas tree,
Uh-huh.
and festive gatherings.
All the festive gatherings. Go ahead.
Number 3, Easter traditions.
Easter traditions.
The term Easter itself is thought to derive from the Anglo-Saxon goddess Ostrith.
Eostre, which goes into Ashtaroth in the Bible. Okay, go ahead.
Eostre, celebrated among several pagan communities.
Several pagan communities. So y'all Christians, y'all want to just like, it didn't come from this specific place to this. Listen, it's an amalgamation because the Babylonians adopted stuff from the Egyptians and then remixed it. The Greeks borrowed things from the Babylonians and the Egyptians and remixed it. The Romans borrowed things from the Greeks, the Babylonians, and the Egyptians and remixed it. And learned things from other places and remixed all of that stuff. And then here comes America. It's like, I like a little bit of this, like a little bit of that. Let's mix this, let's mix that, let's do this. You got a whole pot. What do they call this? The Great Melting Pot. So it's a great melting pot of different religions, customs, cultures, and gods. And whichever one you choose whichever tradition you choose to follow, that's the God you follow. That's the God you worship. So don't get all this. It didn't come Jeremiah. Don't. Okay? Don't. You just sound pathetic. Like a little kid trying to get his way. Don't. Just clean your damn room. I don't care if you're almost at level 5 and you're trying to explain the mechanics of how the controller works and how this is detrimental. It doesn't matter. Stop the game, clean your damn room. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Stop it. You're playing too much. Hope that makes sense. Go ahead.
Celebrated among several pagan communities in springtime. Number 4.
Lupercalia.
Lupercalia.
That sounds like a disease.
Yes, it does.
Sounds like a leprechaun disease. Let's see what Lupercalia is.
Hey, it will kill you.
Yes, it will kill you. It's idolatry.
Lupercalia, an ancient Roman festival that has influenced modern Valentine's Day through themes of love and fertility.
So it influences through themes of love and fertility. This is modern day Valentine's Day. Go ahead.
Number 5, All Hallows Eve.
This is Halloween. Go ahead.
Many customs associated with Halloween can be traced back to ancient pagan festivities, such as Samhain.
Samhain,
which marked the end of the harvest season.
Marks the end of the what's the end of our harvest season?
So, tabernacles.
It's tabernacles, the ingathering. They replaced all of these days. Okay, get the next one. That's fine. We don't got to read it, but these are the sources, right? These are some of the sources you can go through and you can find. This is just some. ChatGPT doesn't give you all the sources. I got a whole bunch of sources. Okay, now I got it. Now let's get birthdays really quick.
Hey, shalom, y'all. Most High in Christ bless you. I am Officer Ophir, IUIC Bakersfield. We have a school here in Bakersfield, California. So if you're in Bakersfield or Fresno or any city in between, come to our school, visit us, learn who you are, learn your history, know how special you are, and then teach your brothers the same. Hopefully I see you soon. Shalom.
Birthdays. Let's deal with the birthdays real quick. When we get birthdays, matter of fact, give me Ecclesiastes 7:1. We're going to deal with birthdays. Drop that real quick. Let's get into the Bible. Let's deal with Ecclesiastes 7:1.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7 and verse 1. A good name is better than precious ointment.
Read.
And the day of death than the day of one's birth.
So the day of death is better than the day of one's birth. We didn't celebrate birthdays. What was a day seen as a glorious day was the day of one's death. Okay? Let's get Jeremiah chapter 20, verse 14. Just going to deal with it a little bit. Going to deal with this a little bit. Jesus did not celebrate his birthday. Why the hell are you celebrating his birthday? Go ahead.
The book of Jeremiah, chapter 20 and verse 14.
Bring it out.
Cursed be the day wherein I was born.
Jeremiah said, cursed be the day wherein I was born. Now, people, that's just Jeremiah. That was Jeremiah. No. What you don't understand is, cursed be the day wherein I was born, because why? He's going to tell you. He's going to explain it why. Go ahead.
Let not the day wherein my mother bare me be blessed. Cursed be the man who brought tidings to my father.
Saying what?
Saying, a man-child is born.
A man-child is born. But you got a son, man. You got a son, bro. Go ahead.
A man-child is born unto thee.
A man's supposed to be proud when he got a son. But Job's like, man, that cursed be the man that did that. Go ahead.
Making him very glad. And let that man be as the cities which the Lord overthrew.
Read. Let that man be as the city that the Lord overthrew. Read.
And repented not.
And don't repent for that. Go ahead.
And let him hear the cry in the morning. And the shouting at noontide.
Read.
Because he slew me, not from the womb.
Man, he should have killed me from the womb. Why is Jeremiah saying this? Go ahead.
Or that my mother might have been my grave.
I might have died in my mother's womb. Go ahead.
And her womb to be always great with me.
Read.
Wherefore came I forth out of the womb to see labor.
To see what?
Labor.
And what?
And sorrow.
So why are we celebrating your birth? Because when you're born seeing our people in labor and in sorrow. Were the slaves celebrating their birthday? Why the hell would they? I thank God for another day. They're seeing labor and sorrow. Yes, we are not in chattel slavery anymore, but we are still captive. Hey, give me the definition of captive really quick from the Webster's. Pull that up real fast. I want the definition of captive. We're not in chattel slavery, but we are still captives here. By definition, Negro. I want the Webster's. You got it up on the screen? People can see it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
I want number 2.
Merriam-Webster definition.
Give me number 1 first.
Of captive. Number 1. Taken and held as if a prisoner of war.
When the Caucasians came over here and took us into slavery, that is an act of war. Right. I did a whole class on that. Being prisoners of war. POWs. I did a whole class on that. We are prisoners of war based on what they did with us. And we're still here. We're still POWs. Let's get definition number 2.
Number 2. Held under control.
Held under control, but what?
Of another, but having the appearance of independence.
Y'all Negroes have the appearance of independence, but you're still captive. You don't got chains on no more. You're not in chattel slavery. So people, were you ever a slave? No, yo, that's chattel slavery. We're still captive here, though. Okay? So drop that. Let's go back to the thing that we had. Let's go back to it. Oh, wait. We didn't have that up yet, did we? Okay. So Jeremiah said what in verse 18?
Jeremiah chapter 20 and verse 18.
Read.
Wherefore came I forth out of the womb to see labor and sorrow.
Labor and sorrow. That's what our people are in. We see labor and sorrow. Some of our people live good. Some of us live in nice neighborhoods. We have the appearance of independence, but we know what it is, though. We know what it is. We're the only people that code switch. We go inside the job, we're like, oh, hey, Chuck, hey, how's you? Yeah, the wife is good? Hey, all right, buddy. Everything is good. You get outside, yo, what up, man? Hey, man, these niggas be tripping over here. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? We the only ones that can say stuff like that and know what we're talking about. But when you get around them, you got to code switch. Why? Because you know you're not the same. That's sorrowful that you have to be 2 different people. Sometimes 3 different people. That's a sorrowful thing. Let's go.
That my days should be consumed with shame.
Days be consumed with shame? Because you walk around, you're in a shameful state. Who's looked at in a shameful state today? You blacks, you Hispanics, you Native Americans. Y'all are looked at in a shameful state. Okay? Now, let's get, so Jeremiah was like, yo, cursed be the day I was born. So let's get Job chapter 1. Start at verse 2.
The book of Job, chapter 1 and verse 2. And there were born unto him 7 sons.
So this is talking about Job. He had how many sons?
7 sons and 3 daughters.
7 sons and 3 daughters, a total of 10 kids. All right, this is important. The reason why these characters are being mentioned in the story is because it's important. All right, go ahead.
His substance also was 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels and 500 yoke of oxen and 500 she-asses and a very great household.
So this is also important because later on it talks about what happens to his animals. Go ahead.
So that this man was the greatest of all the men of the east. And his sons went and feasted in their houses.
In where?
In their houses.
No, in Job's house.
In their houses.
So did they live with Job?
In their houses.
Did they live with Job, y'all? No, they didn't live with Job because they were feasting in their house. Okay? In their what? Houses. Okay? So his kids were older. They were feasting in their houses. Go ahead.
Every
single one of them.
His day.
They were feasting on what? His day. What is his day? What is his day? Chapter 3, verse 1.
The book of Job, chapter 3 and verse 1. After this opened Job his mouth and cursed his day.
Cursed his day. What is his day?
And Job spake and said, let the day perish wherein I was born.
That's the day he cursed. His day. The day he was born. His birthday. Go ahead.
And the night in which that was said, there is a man-child conceived.
That's the same thing that Jeremiah said. Now let's go back. Chapter 1, verse 4 one more time.
Job chapter 1 and verse 4. And his sons went and feasted in their houses. Every one his day.
His day. Every one his day. On the day of his birth. They were doing what? Feasting. What is a feast? Do you call regular dinner feast? Or was it called supper? Dinner. Something like that. You don't call it feast. You don't walk in and say, hey honey, what's for feast tonight? You know what I'm saying? A feast is a celebration. So they were feasting everyone on his day. So let's read verse 5. Oh yeah, keep reading. I'm sorry.
And sent and called for their 3 sisters.
They called for their sisters to do what?
To eat and to drink with them.
Say, when you eat and you drink, what is that calling it? It's you being merry. It's a festival. You're feasting. That's why it uses those words in conjunction with each other. They called their sisters to come and join in with them. Go ahead.
And it was so. When the days of their feasting were gone about.
When their days would happen, because, look, every father knows his child. You know when your child is bad as hell, when they're going to do this, and when they're self-willed. So when their days of feasting were gone about, when it was this son's feast day, that son's feast day, this son's feast day, and they were feasting on those particular days, what did Job do?
That Job sent and sanctified them.
What did Job do?
Sent and sanctified them.
He sanctified them.
And rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings.
When you offer up burnt offerings, what are you offering up for? Sin. You offer it up for sin. So he offered up burnt offerings, read.
According to the number of them all.
So for each child, for each one that was there celebrating. It may be this one's birthday, but all 10 of them niggas was there. Go ahead.
For Job said, it may be.
Now why is Job saying it may be? Did they live with Job? Did he see them? No. That's why it says, read at the beginning of it.
It may be.
No, the beginning of the verse.
And it was so.
It was so.
When the days
When the
of,
what?
When the days.
When the day. When the days of their feasting. Because Job knew when they was born. Go ahead.
Feasting were gone about.
When those days came, that the days where they were going to be feasting were happening. Read.
That Job sent and sanctified them.
So he didn't see them actually doing it. But he knows his children. Go ahead.
And rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, It may be.
It may be. Yo, man, I think my kid's doing some evil right now, man. It's just like a father's like, man, I know my kid's bad as hell. Let me send him some prayers for him. You know what I'm saying? I may not see you do the evil, but I'm going to pray for your dumb behind, man. Go ahead.
It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts.
By celebrating themselves, they made themselves a god, and they cursed God in their heart. That's what you do when you celebrate a birthday, when you keep your own birthday. You're making yourself a god, and we're going to show that. Read on.
Thus did Job continually.
Job continually did that. Now, the end result was his kids died. Ezekiel 14, verse 20. Let's see what the Lord said. Job tried. He was like, I'm trying to save my kids, Lord. Please. These kids is bad as hell. They don't listen. Ezekiel 14. Is it 20 I want?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 14 and verse 20.
Start 14. Read 14.
Verse 14. Though these three men, Noah, Daniel, and Job, were in it.
They were in it. The verses above show you what they were in. We're not going to get into that. We're just going to show you these three men were in it. Go ahead.
They should deliver, but their own souls.
You can only deliver themselves. Could Job save his sons? No. What is the Lord telling you? That they were in sin, and they were not delivered because what happened to them? They died. They got put to death. Go ahead.
But their own souls by their righteousness.
You can only save your own soul by their righteousness. Read verse 20.
Verse 20. Though Noah, Daniel, and Job were in it, as I live, saith the Lord God.
Read.
They shall deliver neither son.
You can't deliver your sons, Job. Go ahead.
Nor daughter.
Why would he say you can't deliver them? Showing you that they what? They were in sin. Read.
They shall but deliver their own souls by their righteousness.
By your righteousness, how you act. Your way, you keeping the laws of God. That's the only way. All right? So now, I know it's taking a while. I'm sorry.
Nah, come on. I got all night.
All right, all praises. I don't.
Then my bad.
No, you good. Let's bring up the birthdays.
Yes, sir.
You got it up? All right, let's roll.
Why are cakes and candles significant with birthdays?
So this is what I asked ChatGPT. Why is cakes and candles significant with birthdays? Go ahead.
Where did it come from?
I'm asking these questions. Where did it come from? Go ahead.
Did Israelites in the Bible do this custom? Or was it considered sin? Answer in great detail.
I even capitalized it. Go ahead.
Expounding on the information you give and provide authors, sources, and links, if possible. Pull from experts and professionals on the subject.
So, you see what I'm asking it to do? Like, I ain't like just sugarcoat. No, give me the truth. That's a person who does real research. Like, if I'm wrong, show me the details that I am wrong. Give it to me straight. You know what I'm saying? I'm not in no way influencing the answer to be something that I want it to be. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm doing. So let's see what it says.
Chatbot. The celebrating birthdays with cakes and candles has deep historical and cultural roots involving various customs and beliefs that have evolved over time.
Okay, let's read. Let's see some of this.
Historical background. Number 1, ancient civilizations. The practice dates back to ancient civilizations, notably the Egyptians, who are often credited with the first recorded celebration of birthdays.
Where is this at? Let's get it in Genesis real quick. Take that down. Let's get it in Genesis real fast. The ChatGPT is showing you what the Bible is saying. All right? Come on. You got it? You know what I want in Genesis? Genesis 40. Hold on, let me pull it up. 40 verse 20.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 40 and verse 20. And it came to pass the third day, which was Pharaoh's birthday.
Pharaoh's what?
Pharaoh's birthday.
Pharaoh's birthday.
That he made a feast.
He did what?
A feast.
Oh, so this does go back to Egyptian pagan custom. They made a feast. And the pharaohs were called what? God kings. God kings. Go ahead.
Made a feast unto all his servants. And he lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants.
The chief what?
The chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants.
Oh, I wonder what he was baking. Go ahead.
And he restored the chief butler unto his butlership again.
He restored the butler. Go ahead.
And he gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand.
Read.
And he hanged the chief baker, as Joseph had interpreted to them.
So somebody got killed. Somebody had to die on the birthday. So let's drop that. Let's go back to where we were at. Go ahead and pull it back up. Let me know when we got it up.
It's crazy right here because what we're reading is that, you know, there's a significance with the chief butler who serves the people, right, and the baker. Meaning what there's always eating and drinking. That's why,
right?
You know, just
there's always he had a feast.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what these Christians are reading. You just making up stuff up. You just making stuff up, and you just want to just say, I like the Bible, but I'm an atheist. Just say that. You're a Bible-liking atheist. Go ahead. Where are we at?
They believed.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
They believed that the pharaohs became gods.
They believed that the pharaohs became what?
Became gods.
So they believed that the pharaohs became gods
on their coronation day.
On their coronation day, when they were crowned king. The day of their coronation, that's when they became a god. So they were called pharaohs, god kings. Everybody wasn't keeping their birthday. It was only for the God King. So when you are celebrating your birthday, you are making yourself a god, because that was the custom behind it. Go ahead.
Which was considered more significant than a birthday.
Than a regular birthday. Go ahead. Let's get the next one.
Number 2, Greeks and Romans.
Greeks and Romans. Let's see what they did.
The Greeks adopted this practice by making round cakes.
Oh, read.
To honor Artemis.
To honor who?
Artemis.
Oh, so it's in the worship of another god. The cake comes from the worship of Artemis on that day. Where did the cake come from? Why the pointy hat? Y'all are just doing things just to do it and don't wonder where it even comes from and have no idea that is in the customs of another god. Go ahead.
Round cakes to honor Artemis.
Now, I did a class on this a while back, and I had a bunch of facts on this, but let's keep reading.
The goddess of the moon.
Mm-hmm.
The cakes.
Remember in Deuteronomy 4, it said that they would worship the sun and the moon. We read about Sol Invictus, the moon, the sun. Now we're reading about the worship of the moon. Go ahead.
The cakes were decorated with candles to symbolize the glow of the moon.
And also, I don't know if it says it on here, but the smoke that comes from it represented their prayers or their wishes.
That's why they say when you blow out the fire, right, the candles,
yep.
Make a wish.
That's why they tell you, who the hell are you making a wish to? It's a different God. It's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible is not in a lamp waiting to get rubbed in a lamp and come out as a genie and fight Jafar and all this. What the hell is happening with y'all? Go ahead. The Romans?
The Romans also celebrated birthdays, primarily for wealthy citizens.
So see how it started changing. It was for only the God kings, for the kings that became or that saw themselves as gods. Then it was only for the wealthy. Y'all poor Negroes wasn't celebrating birthdays. Y'all couldn't afford nothing. Go ahead.
By throwing lavish parties that included cakes and feasting.
Come on, man. This is getting like, it's like beating a dead horse. All right, y'all are wrong. Now, Christian context.
Number 3, Christian context.
Okay, let's see what they got to say.
In the early Christian church, birthdays were often frowned upon.
Wow, no, they accepted it.
Frowned upon.
No, they did it for Jesus.
Birthdays were often frowned upon.
No, they said, I do it to thank God for another year.
Frowned upon.
Okay, go ahead.
Christian doctrine in its early years saw the celebration of such personal milestones as being akin to pagan practices.
When it says Christian doctrine in its early years, it's talking about when the disciples were on the earth. That was pagan customs. Because it says Christian doctrine because Christ had already came. So they still were not doing that after Christ came. Nobody was celebrating Christ's birthday. If they celebrated Christ's birthday, that would be a pagan custom. They understood that. So where's December 25th even coming from? That was considered pagan custom at the time. Go ahead.
And thus, some early Christians did not celebrate birthdays. Mm-hmm. The emphasis was placed on death anniversaries rather than birth.
It was on death anniversaries rather than birth, showing you what we read in Ecclesiastes 7:1 about the better is the day of one's death than the day of one's birth. That's what Ecclesiastes 7:1 says, doesn't it? We're not making it up. Let's get the next part.
Cakes and candles tradition.
Sorry, we almost done, bro.
Number 1, emergence of birthdays as celebrations. The modern birthday celebration, as we know it, began to take shape in 19th century Europe, particularly in Germany. The tradition of birthday cakes became common.
We don't give a damn. Let's read the second one.
Number 2, candles. The act of placing candles on cakes and then blowing them out is believed to stem from ancient Greek rituals.
With the worship of Artemis. Go ahead.
That involved offering cakes and candles to gods.
That's what they were doing in Jeremiah when they were making cakes for the queen of
heaven.
That's the goddess of the moon. That's what they were doing. The custom hasn't changed, y'all. There's variations. It twists and turns a little bits of here and there, but it's still there. Y'all still in idol worship. Go ahead.
The number of candles is typically indicative of the individual's age, with one additional candle added to symbolize hope for the next year.
That's crazy. Go to biblical context and Israelite customs.
The Bible does not explicitly mention the celebration of birthdays in a positive light.
In a what?
Positive light.
The Bible don't talk about birthdays in a positive light. We just read about Exodus in Genesis with the Pharaoh. Let's get one more example. Give me 2 Maccabees 6 verse 6. This is Antiochus Epiphanes. Antiochus Epiphanes meaning God manifest. He named himself God manifest. So he's calling himself a god. Was he a king? Yes. That's how you know they adopted the understanding from Egypt. They called themselves god kings as well. The Greeks did. Read that.
2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 6.
Go ahead.
Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts.
Read.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
You couldn't profess to be a Jew. Go ahead.
And in the day of the king's birth.
In the day of what?
In the day of the king's birth.
Who's the king? Who was the king at that time? Antiochus. God manifests. He's calling himself God. He celebrated his birthday. He was a what? A pagan. Read.
Every month.
They were what?
They were brought by bitter constraints.
No, they were happy to celebrate his birthday.
By bitter constraints.
No, they had the little kazoos back in the day. You did a little kazoo, and they had the little balloons and everything else, confetti. They were throwing it up in the air.
By bitter constraints.
They were forced to do this because that's not what we were doing. That wasn't our custom. We knew that was evil. That was pagan. We knew that. It goes into worshiping another God. By them participating in that, who are they worshiping as God? Who are they worshiping as God, officer?
Themselves.
No, by them practicing and doing what the king's birthday every month, who are they worshiping as God?
This king right here.
Yeah, that's who they were worshiping as God.
Yes, sir.
So when your families come over celebrating your birthday, who are they worshiping as God? You.
That's why they bring you gifts.
That's why they bring you gifts.
Offerings.
Right. The Christians be like, well, the wise men brought gifts. That wasn't on the day he was born. He was already 2. He was already a toddler. He was already up and moving around, probably, jumping around and all over the place. Go ahead.
By bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus, carrying ivy.
So they were keeping the feast of Bacchus as well. It's a pagan custom that goes with the worship of your God. We could drop that. Last one, are we done with birthdays? Okay, let's just finish that out, and then we're just going to get New Year's.
You want number 1?
Yeah.
Birthdays in the Bible. The only two birthdays mentioned in the Bible.
When it says the only two, it's talking about the phrase birthday. Okay? Because we saw that Job spoke about the day of his birth, Jeremiah spoke about the day of his birth, and Job spoke about his children celebrating the day of their birth. So when it's saying the only 2 birthdays mentioned, it's talking about the actual phrase birthday. Right. Go ahead and read that.
In the Bible involve notable negative events. The birthday of Pharaoh.
We read that.
Genesis 40 and verse 20. And Herod's birthday.
We didn't read that, but that goes into Herod killing John the Baptist. Because John the Baptist was like, yo, you can't sleep with your brother's wife. Right. And he killed him for it. Go ahead.
Matthew chapter 14 and verse 6. Both involved violent acts.
Go ahead.
These references have led some scholars
to do what?
To suggest that birthday celebrations could have been viewed negatively.
Could have been viewed negatively. Go ahead.
Number 2, Israelite traditions. The ancient Israelites focused more on communal and religious festivals.
They focused on those. It says Passover and Yom Kippur. Oh, why does it do that? All right. We read about some of those customs. You read about it in Leviticus 23. We focused on that. Go ahead.
Rather than personal celebrations like birthdays.
We didn't do it. We did not do that. That's not a way we venerated our God, by venerating ourselves. That's stupid. Go ahead.
The biblical law mostly emphasized obedience.
Emphasized what?
Obedience.
To who? To God. Go ahead.
And community.
And community, because the obedience to the law and the community gave what? Law and order. That's what it did. Go ahead.
Rather than individual milestones.
Rather than individual milestones. All right. Was that it? Is that the last one on that? All right. We could drop that. Last one, give me New Year's. Oh, yeah, let's read this real quick. Yeah, let's read this. Because it's citing some sources. They're like, I want to cite your sources. This is just some. Don't get all. These are the only sources he has. No, I have a whole lot more. All right, just making this easier. Go ahead.
For deeper exploration of this topic, you may refer to the following sources. Number 1, Davidson Andrew, Celebration, a study of cultural traditions and practices. Number 2, Gay Ann, Cake and Candle, the history of birthday celebrations. Number 3, Palmer Howard, the history of birthday traditions in Europe.
Wait. Did you read thus the customs of birthdays?
No.
Read the top part.
Yes, sir. Thus, the customs of celebrating birthdays with cakes and candles has a rich, diverse origin.
What?
Intertwining various cultural.
Meaning what? They got bits and pieces from this and that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So we're not saying, oh, it's all from this one custom right here. No, we know it's from all different sorts of places because they all borrowed from each other. But it's all what? Paganism. All of it is. Because the God of the Bible says, don't do this, don't do that, do this, do that. That's how you know who you worship, by what you do. Go ahead.
Intertwining various cultural traditions from ancient times to contemporary practices. While it has roots in...
It has what?
Roots.
It has roots.
In pagan rituals.
The pagan rituals go into pagan gods. Go ahead.
It has been adapted.
Adapted. Embraced.
And embraced.
And embraced.
Within many cultures.
With many cultures.
Including Christian traditions.
Boom. 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 It is what it is. I didn't make it up. Did I write this? I didn't write it. All right, we're going to get this last one. Let's get New Year's. You got New Year's up?
Yes, sir.
Is New Year's up? All right, we're good. Now let's get into New Year's. Now, you may be thinking, man, why is he talking about all this? This all has to do with law and order because what you celebrate has to do with the God that you worship. So we talked about birthdays. Even though that's not written in law, guess what? You still do that religiously. And so you still make yourself a God. You still follow certain rituals from that. I want gifts. It's my day. Now people are talking about I have a birthday month. How the hell is the whole damn month your month? You claiming a whole month to yourself, that's crazy. It's no longer God's month. God's day, right? It's yours. But that's pagan. Okay? That goes into idolatry. That goes into adoration and veneration of yourself. And the same thing with New Year's. All of these things have to do with different gods. New Year's on January 1st has to do with the god of Janus, the god of beginnings and endings. All right, so we're not going to read a whole lot on this. I just want to get a little bit. Let's get it.
ChatGPT. What about New Year's, President's Days, and birthdays? Answer with greater detail than the previous answer.
You see what I'm asking it to do? Then answer with greater detail than the previous answer.
From accurate sources and show all of the historical parallels and similarities.
Please do. Thank you. I appreciate your cooperation. You see how I'm not giving it any room to just be on my side.
You're giving it straight commandments.
Yeah, I'm giving straight commandments. All right, let's go.
Here an overview of New Year's, President's Day, and birthdays, along with their historical parallels and similarities.
Go ahead.
New Year's Day, overview. New Year's Day, celebrated on January 1st, marks the beginning of the new calendar year in the Gregorian calendar.
No, in God's time.
In the Gregorian calendar.
Who changed times?
Gregorian calendar.
Whoa. Who changed times? Somebody changed times. And y'all love it. Somebody changed times, which is a lie, and y'all love it so. Y'all love lies. Ain't that what it say? I ain't tripping. Go ahead.
The celebration dates back to ancient civilizations, most notably Babylon, where it was celebrated during the spring equinox.
Uh-oh. Go ahead.
Historical significance. Babylonian origins.
Go ahead.
The Babylonians celebrated the new year during Akatu. A festival that involved various rituals, including the
inauguration
or
the coronation
of the king.
Oh my God! Again, it's all linking together. Whoever celebrated, today's January 1st, by the way. If y'all was celebrating it as the new year, y'all out doing your thing and blah, 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 y'all was in idolatry.
Hang on, officer.
Yes.
Isn't this
month? Yeah, I was about to get it. Because as well as, what is America about to do in a couple of days?
The presidential inauguration.
The presidential inauguration. Damn. Bring back up that picture of the new president who's going to be inaugurated. And what they view him as, real quick. You got it up? Oh my God. They see him as Christ. And people don't see it. They don't see it. They're like, no, this is a God-fearing country. No, God bless, we got to vote. God, yo, what are y'all? Oh my gosh, y'all don't even see the parallels of what's happening. Drop that. Let's go back to what we have. Drop that. We're almost out of here. Ain't that crazy, bro? All right, let's get that.
Sir. Roman influence.
Now here's the Roman influence. We ready? They see it? Go ahead.
In 46 BC, Julius Caesar established January 1st.
So we talked about the Gregorian calendar. Now it's talking about the Roman calendar. They're one and the same. Who did that? Esau did. He established, go ahead.
January 1st as the start of the year.
To what?
To honor Janus.
So if you're following after that means going after the celebration of it. Not like, well, look, I got to write down January 1st.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's writing down the date doesn't mean you're celebrating it. You're just like, yo, it is what it is. Right? You go to your job, you can't put, I can't write that down. It's January. No, we're not saying be an idiot. You're out there putting stuff on Facebook. 2025 is going to be a great year, and New Year's resolution, God's going to work wonders in this year. No, he's not. Not for you, because you are celebrating Janus.
Right.
It's not the God of the Bible. You think Janus is going to do something. He's the God of endings and beginnings. You are ending this year and saying this year is going to be a great year. What God are you celebrating?
Everybody has a New Year resolution.
Yeah, everybody. I think it talks about that on here. Go ahead.
So, January 1st as a start of the year to honor Janus, the Roman god of beginnings and transitions.
Beginnings and transitions.
This was a shift from the previous calendar that began in March.
Began in when?
March.
Because that was what God said to do. That is Passover. That's Exodus 12. Can we drop that? Let's get Exodus 12 real quick. Or Deuteronomy 16. That's what I want. Deuteronomy 16. Y'all Christians are like, yeah, we're going to follow what he said. What? No. If you're following what God said, right, about the days and the time, if you're like, no, I acknowledge that the beginning of the year is in the spring, then that means you have to acknowledge that 14 days after that beginning of the year is what? Passover. Which means you have to, or 14 days at even, which means you have to acknowledge 50 days after Passover is over is what? Pentecost. Which means you have to keep everything in its day and its time and its order, because what? Esau came and changed the law and the order. The law and the time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But you're like, I don't acknowledge this. No. How do we even really know when the Sabbath really is? Christians say that. Y'all don't believe in the Bible. Read that, Deuteronomy 16:1, please.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 16 and verse 1. Observe the month of Abib.
Observe the month of Abib. Abib means ear of corn, which symbolizes spring. Read.
And keep the Passover unto the Lord thy God.
And keep the Passover, read.
Unto the Lord thy God. For in the month of Abib, the Lord thy God brought thee forth out of Egypt by night.
When you go back to the history of that in Exodus 12, go to Exodus 12. So it says, keep the month of Abib, and the 14th day of that month at even is Passover. That's when the Lord delivered us. Exodus 12.
The book of Exodus, chapter 12 and verse 2. This month,
the month of Abib,
shall be unto you the beginning of months.
It's the beginning of months. It's the first month of the year. Read.
It shall be the first month of the year to you.
That's what God said. Do the Christians agree with that? No, y'all don't agree with that, because in order to agree with that, you have to acknowledge when the month begins. To acknowledge when the month begins means you have to acknowledge the what?
The month.
The new moon. You got to acknowledge the new moon.
Right.
Because that's when the month begins. Then 14 days after, you don't acknowledge the God of the Bible. You acknowledge a different God. There's no other way to slice this. You know what I mean? All right. All right, go back to it. Go back to the thing. Chat GPT. We got it up? Tell me when you got it up. Good. Go ahead.
Parallels with other holidays.
Uh-huh.
Like many cultures, the celebration of the new year often includes reflecting on the past and making resolutions.
Making what?
Resolutions.
Oh, snap. Read that again for the top.
Like many cultures.
Like many cultures.
The celebration of the new year often includes reflecting on the past and making resolutions for the future.
The God of beginnings and transitions. Go ahead.
Similar to the themes found in various harvest festivals across cultures.
Across cultures, meaning other cultures. Other cultures worship other gods. It's not the God of the Bible. Now, here's what you Christians are right here. This is what you Christians are. Read that.
This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 9.
Read.
The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly.
The Lord knoweth what?
How to deliver the godly out of temptation. And to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment.
So the unjust will be reserved to the day of judgments. Go ahead.
To be punished.
To be punished. Read.
But chiefly.
The main ones he's going after. Read.
Them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness.
Those that walk in the lust of the flesh of uncleanness. How do you determine what's unclean, Christians? I want to know. I know in the Old Testament it tells you this is unclean, that is unclean, this makes you unclean. What is the list in the New Testament, please, if there's a different list now? Go ahead.
And despise government.
And those that do what?
Despise government.
Wait a minute. Governments are set up with law and order. Whose government do you despise? God's. Because when we show you the law and the order that's according to God's government that he put over his people, you don't like that. You don't want to do that. You even attack his people and you lie on his people. You lie on the prophets that are out showing it and teaching it. You despise governments. He's coming after you. Unless you repent. Read that part again. I like that. That was good right there.
But chiefly, them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. Presumptuous are they.
They're presumptuous.
Self-willed.
Self-willed. You make up your own understanding in the Bible. Go ahead.
They are not afraid to speak evil of dignities.
Who's the dignities you're speaking evil of? God. You'll say, when we're out there saying, hey, you got to keep the Sabbath, you got to do this, what will you say? Heresy. Wait a minute. God said that, though. How are we? So you're calling God a heretic. You're speaking evil of dignities, and you don't even know. Watch yourself. Okay? We done with that?
Yes, sir.
Give me Hebrews 13. Give me Hebrews 13. We're almost done. We're going to close it out. Whoo. Hebrews 11 and verse 13. I'm sorry. Hebrews 11, verse 13.
There's the book of Hebrews, chapter 11 and verse 13. These all died in faith.
These all died in faith. Go ahead.
Not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth.
So these, our forefathers, they didn't get to see the land, right? But there was a people that did. A generation did get to see the land. Go ahead.
For they that say such things declare plainly.
They that say such things declare, what do they declare? That they what?
That they seek a country.
They seek a what?
That they seek a country.
Why? Because they're pilgrims on the earth. What are we right now, y'all? Pilgrims and strangers on the earth. We don't got a land. We don't got a place. This is the land of our captivity. So what are we saying? We seek a country. Well, if we seek a country, what are the rules going to be? Right. What's the government going to be? What's the law and the order? Go ahead.
Verse 15. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country.
So our forefathers, if they had been mindful of that country, what does it mean to be mindful of the country? If they had been mindful of the law and the order, go ahead.
From whence they came out, they might have had opportunity to have returned.
Right. Return why? Because they were scattered among all the nations. Like we read in Deuteronomy 4:27. Go ahead.
But now they desire a better country.
A better country.
That is an heavenly.
An heavenly country.
Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God. For he hath
God is not ashamed to be called what?
Their God.
Because why? Because in order for us to be following our God, we have to be following what? The laws and the orders set before us. That's why that's why he won't be ashamed to be our God. Because before, if we're following everybody else scattered in those nations, we're following other gods. But at this point, what he's talking about right here, but now they desire a better country that is in heavenly. Wherefore, meaning in the future, at that time, read.
God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city by faith.
Go ahead. That's it. He prepared for us a city. Now, we know what that is. That's New Jerusalem. We're not going to get into that. That's neither here nor there. Last scripture, y'all. Last one. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. So I'm hoping y'all see. Esau took our book. He holds it in disguise. He is deceitful in his ways, in his mouth, in his tongue, when he speaks holding our Bible. It's not the truth, but he will convince you that it is, not knowing, or maybe y'all are ignorant. Some of y'all are ignorant, and some of y'all just don't care. But you are worshiping another God, period. There's no other way to slice it, okay? 2 Thessalonians 2, and read verse 4. We almost out. We almost out of here, y'all.
There's the book of 2 Thessalonians, chapter 2 and verse 4.
I hope y'all learning something. Y'all learning something today? Yeah. All right. Is this good stuff? I pray it is, man. If not, I learned something. I was like, holy crap. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called God.
So this man opposes and exalts himself above all that is called God. How does he do that? Because what's called God, or meaning when it says it's that's called God, associated with God, is what? Number one, his people. All right. 2, Christ. Now, this ain't the order that it's actually in. I'm just naming off things, right? So they say his people are Caucasian now. Christ is Caucasian now. The orders and the laws and the rules that he set forth, nope, you ain't got to do those. We made up some other stuff now that's actually brand spanking new. Christmas, birthdays, Saturnalia, tree worship, all these other things that you do. Okay, go ahead.
Or that is worship.
Or that is what?
Or that is worship.
What does worship mean? To follow what? The rites and the customs of the entity. Okay, go ahead.
So that he, as God, sitteth in the temple of God.
We showed the picture.
Showing himself that he is God.
So he shows himself that he is all over the world, y'all. He shows himself that he is God. Truckers are driving around with Jesus on pulling back an American flag like, hey, guys, I've been behind the scenes the whole time. You know what I'm saying? Like Jesus... I'll call it Caesar Bowe. That ain't Jesus. Caesar Bowe sounding like Keanu Reeves. Go ahead.
Verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things, and now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time.
So in time, he's going to be revealed. Not yet, though. Because he's going to tell you. Read.
For the mystery of iniquity that already worked.
Look, it's already at work. What was at work at the time? Rome. What do we read in the history book? That they were pushing birthdays, Saturnalia, January 1st. They were like, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. It wasn't exposed at that time who that mystery of iniquity was. But it's going to come out. It was going to come out. And guess what? The longer Esau holds our Bible, the more he gets exposed. Go ahead.
Only he who now letteth will let.
Only he that now letteth will let. Go ahead.
Until he be taken out of the way. And then shall that wicked be revealed.
Then the wicked will be revealed. Read.
Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth.
How is he consuming them with the spirit of his mouth? The Bible. The prophets out on the street like, no, not Christmas, Hanukkah, Feast of Dedication. No, not Easter, Passover. No, not Sunday, Sabbath day. No, sis, not jeggings, dresses. No, brother, you can't put on makeup. That's effeminate. No, not pork. Don't eat that. That's the spirit of his mouth. The Bible. And anybody going against that, you're antichrist. If you're going against that, you're anti-God. Go ahead.
Whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
You're going to die when he comes back. Isaiah 66. If you're eating pork, you're going to die. Go ahead.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan.
If his coming is after the working of Satan, it would be the opposite of what God said to do. Does anybody do what God says to do, or do they do the opposite? If you're following the opposite, this is who you're following. Go ahead.
With all power and signs and lying wonders.
Truthful wonders.
And lying wonders.
Go ahead.
And with all deceivableness.
With all deceivableness. Go ahead.
Of unrighteousness.
Unrighteousness is the breaking of the laws. With all deceivableness of unrighteousness. Go ahead.
In them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth.
Because you don't want to receive the love of the truth. You don't want to receive how the Lord is going to consume them with the spirit of his mouth. The spirit of his mouth is coming out when the prophets are on the street. Wisdom crieth out on the street, like it says in Proverbs. You don't want to hear that. Go ahead.
That they might be saved.
You don't want to be saved. And we told you, you've been marked. Go ahead.
For this cause, God shall send them strong delusions.
That's why y'all are so crazy and have strong delusions where you will convince yourself to keep Christmas. That's a strong delusion. That's a strong delusion that Jesus put in the ballot box. That's a strong delusion. Read.
That they should believe a lie.
Y'all believe lies. And you teach your kids lies. You know, Santa Claus is coming. You better be good. You teach your kids lies. Go ahead.
That they all might be damned.
Y'all going to be damned. You're going to die. Go ahead.
Who believe not the truth.
Don't believe the truth.
But had pleasure in unrighteousness.
So if you're saying, Christians, that us teaching God's laws is not the truth, you're saying the things that came out of God's mouth are lies. That's what you're saying. Go ahead.
Verse 13. But we are bound to give.
So you're going to die if you don't follow the truth, right? What did it say? If you don't obey the truth, you're going to be deceived. You're going to be given a strong delusion that you're going to believe lies, right? Who wants to avoid that? I want to avoid that. Jump down to verse 15.
Verse 15. Therefore, brethren.
Therefore, meaning and so, brethren. If you want to avoid what we just got through going over, Satan coming, deceiving many, right? Y'all not following after, obeying what God told you to follow, and you dying. Therefore, brethren,
stand fast.
Stand fast. Hold yourself. Keep yourself together. Keep a strong foundation, and do what?
And hold the traditions.
Do what?
Hold the traditions.
No, forget the traditions.
Hold The traditions.
What traditions is he talking about? Christmas? Is he talking about Easter? Is he talking about birthdays? Saturnalia? No. Hold the traditions. They weren't reading or teaching out of the New Testament. They had the Old Testament that they were teaching out of. Therefore, stand fast and hold the traditions. Read.
Which ye have been taught.
They were taught to keep high holy days. Like when Paul said, hey, guys, I must leave to keep this feast. They were keeping Day of Atonement. They told him in Acts 21, hey, make sure you do this and show that you keep the law. Hold the traditions that what?
That ye have been taught, whether by word.
Whether by their word when they go and they visit them, by the Old Testament, read.
Or our epistle.
Or the epistles when they write these epistles, like 1 Corinthians chapter 5, when he says, keeping the feast of Passover. Therefore, let us keep the feast, but not in malice and so on and so forth. He's teaching them to do that. So what say ye, Christians? Which God do you follow? Is it the God of the Bible, or is it your own God that you made up? Is it your slave master? Which one? To close the class, there must be law and order, right? God's laws and God's order sets us apart. If you follow any other law and order, you are base people. And with that, y'all, I pray that y'all got something out of the class, all right? And I'm going to say shalom.
Hit the bomb!
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family.